Well, good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show. I am excited about our show today. We're here in the studio with Levada Theus, and she's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting because she has done a lot of research on the propositions that's coming up in the November 6th election.
Yes, I have.
Good
Looking forward
evening.
to it.
How are you
Good
doing?
evening. I'm good. It's a
Okay.
beautiful
Well, you're
day
looking
in L.A.
good.
Well, thank you.
Okay, it's just something about a sunshiny day in L.A.
Sunshiny day in L.A.
Yeah. I went to the VA the other day, and I mentioned that we were having so much sun in L.A. That I felt bad for the people at Green Bay for a minute.
For a minute.
For a minute because San Francisco lost.
Just a minute.
Yeah, and then he reminded me that he was wearing a Green Bay shirt. So I thought, well, I better change subjects on that.
All right.
Okay, but we want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show. You know, here we have the elections coming up as well as everyone else across the nation. It's the midterm elections here this November the 6th. And we've had a couple of shows that have addressed specific issues of the elections. And today we're turning to the propositions here in California. But the overall arcing message for this year is to get up and vote. We had Miss Shaw in the studio, and she was talking about how she started an effort to make sure that her family voted. She was going to start having little voting parties inside of her own house for her family and neighbors and everybody else to make sure that they voted. So it's important that whatever you get a heart for, you do that. You don't have to fall in line and do what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
Just do what you have the heart to do. So today's show is all about the propositions. We're going to make some sense of it, and we're going to start with Proposition 10. Now, we have a significant problem here in Southern California, and it's called housing. And housing is, I think, a right for everyone here across the land. I think everyone deserves to have a place that they should be able to call adequate housing. Adequate housing, housing permanency is something that promotes health. And when you don't have adequate housing, then that just lines up with a state of ill health. Now, we want to be fair about things. This is the show where service speaks. So we invited both on the propositions where we're featuring Proposition 10, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But we asked both those persons that was listed for pro and where they were available con for, wherever the person was listed. We invited both sides to call in or come in to speak on behalf of the position that they were taking on that proposition. Our feature proposition is Proposition 10.
Critical.
Okay, and the people that's supporting Proposition 10 responded, and to this date, or to this moment, we have not received a response from those persons that were against it, that was in the state election campaign book. Okay, so we are expecting, who are we expecting to come to the?
We're expecting Pastor Kelvin Sauls.
Okay.
And Pastor Sauls is an ordained pastor at Holman United Methodist Church.
I think he used to pastor at He's at a new church now.
Okay. He is the former senior pastor at Holman.
Yeah.
In the Los Angeles area. But the most important thing, he is a real advocate for racial justice,
right,
economic equity.
Right.
And is an expert on why we need Prop 10.
Yeah.
And why we have to drown out some of the noise we hear on TV.
Right.
To what Prop 10 really means for the housing crisis in L.A.
You know what amazed me, and first of all, I want to thank Charlie and thank Pastor Saltzman. Sauls, I'm sorry. Thank Pastor Sauls, because this was at the very last minute. They had a very short term notice to come. So we want to thank them for setting aside their day and coming to participate in our show to share why it's so important. We do know a couple of things. We do know, like we said, that housing is critical, and the cost of housing in Southern California is astronomical. It's almost as if you don't want a certain people in California, and if that's true, you want everybody out of California that's not a millionaire on their way to a billionaire.
Something to think about, huh?
Yeah, because we're just happening. And I was looking at the mayor. He was in a different city yesterday. He's come up with a plan. Well, we're not going to put all of the people without housing permanency. I don't want to keep calling them homeless. They're without housing permanency in one place. We're going to spread it out over the city because that's where they're from, across the city.
Yeah.
And it was just not amazing to me, but I took note how many people were standing up saying that they didn't want services and facilities in their neighborhood.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. When the people came out of their neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay. So I want to commend the authors and supporters of Proposition 10. There's so much misinformation. We're going to try and go through it and see what we can do to get rid of some of the misinformation about it, because all you hear on television is
vote no, vote no.
Vote no, vote no. It doesn't do a thing for this person, or it doesn't do a thing for that person.
And you always have to consider the source, so this is great.
That's exactly what we're looking at here today. We're going to look at the source because while we are featuring 10, we will, what's the one with the dialysis?
That's 8.
Proposition 8. Proposition 8 is a classic example. Consider the source. Okay. There is, I don't have the numbers in my head, but a significant population of the African American community and the Latino community
receiving dialysis
services. And so those services are in our communities where the services are needed. And when you hear the commercials, you would think that someone is trying to pass a law to restrict dialysis services in the community.
And that's not true.
That's not true. That's not it at all.
I'm trying to regulate service, bring better services to our community.
Right.
Know?
The official handbook spoke about this would cap their profit at 115%. They couldn't have a profit over that amount. And what it says is that the federal government has negotiated a price and that's it. That's all that they can charge. But others who use private insurance, then they are subject to be charged what the owners of these companies want to charge. And that's where the fight is. Okay.
These overcharges. Yes.
Because I want to get it right now. One of the health service providers has said the way we want to cover your care is that you have to get insurance, and we will cover this insurance. So when you get the insurance, because it's an insurance company, they get to charge whoever it is that they want to charge.
All right. Well, we'll get back to 8, but I think isn't it 210? We're supposed
Is
to,
it?
Yes, it
Well,
is.
she will.
You know,
He should be calling in
any moment now.
at any moment now.
Okay.
And if we don't, we're going to take
Well,
a
we
break
could go on and start
and
talking
start
about
talking about it. Yeah.
10.
Okay.
You know,
So let's see what 10 is supposed to do. What is 10 supposed
10
to do?
is supposed to. Now, I look at TV and they tell me 10 is not going to help seniors. It's not going to help veterans. 10 is designed to, number one, repeal Costa-Hawkins Rental Housing Act.
Now, where are you getting that from?
This is information. It's listed in your booklet.
Okay. So
That's what it does.
yeah, I wanted to get
Passed
I think you
in
have a different-
19. Well, I'm going from my notes.
Yeah.
I'm not. I read the book from cover to cover. I highlighted and outlined. So I'm looking at my notes now.
Okay.
But if go to 10.
Well, our source reference, we want to give our source reference. Our source reference that we
Yes.
worked on this week, this is from the California general election. I don't know if they can hone in on that, so I'm going to hold it up there. It's from the California general election handbook. And this is the handbook from Alex Padilla, the Secretary of State for the state of California, and it bears the state of California seal, and it says Official Voter Information Guide. So this is the book that we primarily worked through this week in preparation for this show.
And, I know everybody out there gets that book.
Yes.
I have gotten this book every year that I've been here and have never read it, I have to admit. Because it's so much.
Yes,
so
it is.
it was a great opportunity to see how much information they really do give you. But it's so much of it. I know nobody reads that. So
Well-
this is a great opportunity for us to sort of summarize and let people know what's in there.
Right.
Since we had to read it from cover to cover. But if
Right.
you look on page 58 in the main description, the first thing it says, repeal state law that currently restricts the scope of rent control policies. That is Costa-Hawkins that it repeals. Oh, excuse me.
Costa-Hawkins is a state law?
It's a state law.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
Want some water?
Yes, somebody
Okay.
get some water. Excuse me.
All right. So the second point, it says, is allows policies that would limit the rental rates that residential property owners may charge for new tenants, new construction, and single-family homes. Okay.
And the third bullet is provides rent control policies, provides that rent control policies may not violate landlords' right to a fair financial return. And that's a big concern of property owners, is that the government, the state is going to come in and tell them how much they can rent. But they are protected. Their rights are protected by the law, by this law, so that they will be paid and have an opportunity to receive fair financial return on their investments, on their properties. The main focus is changing, giving local control to cities and municipalities to be able to implement rent control. There are certain cities, like L.A. has rent control, but Inglewood doesn't. And,
Right.
And they were
So many cities
restricted
don't.
by this Costa-Hawkins bill. Removing that gives local control to municipalities to make those decisions at the local level. And that's it, basically.
Now, it says background, rental housing is expensive in California. This is one of the biggest things that I was talking about. Renters in California typically pay 50% more for housing than renters in other states. In some parts of the state, rent costs are more than double the national average. Rent is high in California because the state does not have enough housing for everyone who wants to live here. People who want to live here must compete for housing, which increases rents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So we now have our guest on the line,
Mr.
and we're
Sauls?
going to be talking with him about
Reverend Sauls is
Proposition
with us, huh? Okay.
10. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Reverend Sauls. Reverend Sauls, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
I am doing absolutely fabulous, and first and foremost, praise God, and I want to thank you for coming to the show to talk to us about Proposition 10.
Thank you, Brother Hall, for having me. So glad to be here.
Okay, all right. There is so much information. Sometimes you don't even want to call it information, chatter and everything else about Proposition 10. Now, you have a rich history as a Los Angeles City Commissioner with housing for the joint venture of the housing
Authority.
LASA, with the city and county. And you've been an advocate in the community and all of the things that you do. Ms. Theus and I both are very impressed with all of the work that you're doing, and just to know that your name is affixed to support this Proposition 10 gives it even more merit to be able to discuss it. So thank you again for coming aboard to talk to us about it. So talk to us about the truth why you're supporting Prop 10. Why do we so desperately need it? And give us some counter to what we hear on the radio and TV.
Yes, thanks for having me. So glad to be here. And I'm supporting Prop 10 because, one, it provides us with an opportunity to repeal a law that was never designed to protect renters and tenants. Right now, the vulnerability of so many renters and tenants, as well as the financial insecurity that they are facing with their families as well as in their communities, has just been very, very challenging. Mm-hmm. And so the reason for Prop 10 is basically, to see how we can localize rent control to expand affordability. Okay. It is to see how we can put into the hands of local communities to work with the elected officials around coming up with rent control that is unique to their community. Because right now, of course, the Hawkins is a one-size-fits-all, and you and I know that the needs for renters are different, in San Bernardino than San Jose, than these for the folk in Redding or National City, yes, or in Oakland or Los Angeles. And so, yes. So it's about time that we be intentional, strategic around addressing protection for renters, and to do it, with urgency, and to do it with a lot of intentionality around this.
Okay. So, Proposition 10 changes state law to give more autonomy to the communities to best serve the people of their community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does, and not just that, but it also challenges the multinational corporations that has contributed in so many ways to both displacement and gentrification, mm-hmm, and rent gouging and all exploitive ways, mm-hmm, of transitioning apartments into condos and all of that. One key thing that is very important to understand is that Costa-Hawkins, does not apply, to all construction after 1995. And so that means that everything built after 1995, basically, they can charge you whatever they want to charge you. They can, exploit you however they want to exploit you. And even if a building was built before 95 and it gets, demolished and rebuilt, it then, does not, qualify for whatever, protections, we have, around, for landlords in terms of, and for renters actually in terms of it. So it is time for us to just take a stand on behalf of working class families, on behalf of teachers, on behalf of those who are working for minimum wages, on behalf of our children who are part of families where both households cannot afford the rent because it's just too high, and say, the time is now come for us to push for justice and fairness when it comes to renters and tenants.
Right. So, so I can understand you. So all of the construction that has been done since 1995 is exempt or has been exempt, and it will bring that construction under control as well.
Anything that's built after 1995, is protected. Anything built after 1995 does not protect renters. And this is, I think, where we have to talk about those who own homes built, before 95. Costa-Hawkins, the repeal of Costa-Hawkins and the Yes on Prop 10 campaign is not here to, let property owners, know or tell them how much they ought to charge people. That it's Prop 10 repeals the law that protects landlords who continue to exploit and who continue to facilitate displacement, especially through construction that took place, after 1995.
Okay,
and,
that's the meat of
and
the
it's
matter.
really, yes, and it's really protecting renters and preserving the dignity of individuals and facilitating financial security for families around that. Now, the reason why labor is supporting Yes on Prop 10 is because, they've realized that whatever they bargained for at the table, I was part of the, raise the minimum wage to $15 in Los Angeles, and now it has moved beyond that, but it doesn't make sense to fight to get the minimum wage to $15 an hour, and then come the end of the month, when people have to pay their rent, they realize that the rent has, increased.
Right.
And so all we are saying is there has to be fairness across the board. Because you cannot win at one table, then when you get to the other table, you have to, then that win dissipates.
Yeah,
because
still
of skyrocketing rates.
Yeah, you're still woefully short, inadequate.
Yes.
Resources are inadequate.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is what 17 million households are currently experiencing in the state of California. 17 million households. So all we are saying to folks is, be in solidarity with these 17 million households and our elderly and our young people, as they face these distressing economic times, and vote yes on Proposition 10.
Okay. So let's take another step forward. If all voters were listening to you right now, and there was one thing that you would want to say to them so they would vote yes to make housing more available through a more equitable law, the repeal of this current law and replace it with this more equitable solution with Prop 10, what would that be?
I would say to them that a yes vote on Proposition 10 is to restore the dignity of over 17 million households who are struggling to pay their rent right now because of either skyrocketing rent prices and or rent gouging. A yes on Prop 10 will facilitate accessibility and affordability for over 17 million households. It will enable us to see how we can demonstrate our power locally with our electeds to bring, landlords and tenants together, just like we did in Santa Monica and in other places, to come together and talk about fairness and justice, around how do we build an our community for our folks.
Mm-hmm.
People are facing a financial and economic storm.
Right.
Now is the time for us to see how we can move folks from vulnerability to victory, as they seek to work and live in their communities.
Uh-huh. Now, you spoke about gentrification and foreign investment. How much of the puzzle do they contribute? Because I've seen in the last couple of years foreign investment pour into South Los Angeles. And, South Los Angeles was one of those areas that it was kind of a good and bad situation. It was good because the communities were stable. Okay, and it was bad because no investment money was coming into the community. Now investment money is coming, but now you see this gentrification and you see communities just lose their identity as communities.
Not just their identity, their integrity.
Yes.
Not just their integrity, but stability.
Mm-hmm.
And I've now pastored in 3 communities where, as a pastor, my congregations had to deal with gentrification. I was in San Francisco right after the Fillmore was gentrified into the Western Addition. I then moved and pastored in North Oakland, where that North Oakland and South Berkeley and Emeryville gentrification was going on around this. So much so that one year the elementary school was about to close, and they were going to put those kids in that fall in buses to be bused elsewhere. I mean, thanks be to God, we were able to organize through the Oakland Community Organizing, a PICO affiliate, to transition that elementary school in one summer from a public school to a public charter school, so that kids can still walk to school instead of having to be bused elsewhere to go to school. And then I get to South Los Angeles, where that West Adams neighborhood, has been gentrified, which is an integral part of, the Leimert Park area and the Crenshaw area.
Yes.
And so this has been, this is a storm, Brother Hall, that's been coming for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the California dream has dissipated for so many people, has become a nightmare. And part of it is because of multinational corporations such as Blackstone, headed up by Steven Schwarzman, which is a multi-billion-dollar company that owns property around the world.
Correct.
Sam Zell, George Marcus. These are the folks who are funding the no on Prop 10. Just follow the money.
Okay.
And I say to the folk who are arguing, around the no on Prop 10, do you think that Steven Schwarzman and Sam Zell and George Marcus, that they are spending millions on the no campaign because they care about your welfare?
No.
I doubt it.
They're looking at their interests. They're looking at
protecting
their interests. Right. That's
it's protection of their interests, for ongoing exploitation of our families, across the state.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say once again, thank you for when Charlie called me and said that you more likely would be coming on. I want to thank her and really thank you. And we extended an invitation for the people that were against Prop 10 to come aboard. We want to be fair about it. And absolutely no one responded up to this moment. And what I'm finding, I can understand why.
Yeah, well, I really hope that you will continue to extend invitation to folk in general, but I hope that you will extend a direct invitation to Alice Hoffman, who is the president of the NAACP in the state of California, because
Okay.
through her leadership, the NAACP has placed itself on the wrong side of history, and we are very, very concerned about how she has compromised not just her own integrity, but the credibility of this, civil rights organization, who has always stood for fair housing, always stood for fair education, always stood, for fairness and justice. This time around, we are just appalled at the leadership that she has provided, and those who are supporting her in supporting the No campaign. It is just W.E. Du Bois is turning over in his grave
And
because of the
and give
action
us
of
that
the
name
NAACP
again.
in California.
That's NAACP is
It's
going no.
What is her name again?
NAACP, the Alice Hoffman.
Ellis
The
Hoffman.
the statewide NAACP, is supporting the No campaign, and part of it is because Ms. Hoffman, has taken $800,000 from the No on 10 campaign to be able to go No, and so we are just saying that we are sick and tired of some of our leaders heading up so many of our organizations, who continue to take money, to sell out their people. It is appalling. It is disappointing. It is disturbing, and all we are saying to folk is, as this storm is coming our way, let us register to vote. Let us get out to vote and become the storm for justice and transformation and for fairness and equity.
That's absolutely correct. We're going to do a couple of things here. Right now on this show, we're going to extend an invitation to the head of the state NAACP. Is that Ellis, E-L-L-I-S?
Yeah, Miss Alice Hoffman.
Hoffman, H-O-F-F-M-A-N?
H-U-F-F-M-A-N.
H-U-F-F-M-A-N. Okay. We're going to extend an invitation to Ellis Hoffman, state leader of the NAACP. You can come to the Raymond Hall show and you can explain yourself. 800 G's is a lot of cheese. Okay.
Yes.
And you are, see, everything is connected. People want to say, we want to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's day. It's not a day. You live by the integrity that you have. So when the NAACP takes a position, that's a position that a lot of people understanding what the NAACP stands for is going to pay attention. So we want to invite you to the Raymond Hall show, and we're not paying you. You ain't getting nothing. You just need to come and have us to understand how your name, the NAACP, and $800,000 and No on Prop 10 all comes together in one sentence or one paragraph. Okay.
Thanks for extending that invitation, because I think it's important that we hold people accountable, and our integrity in so many ways, goes with transparency and accountability.
That's
correct. And this is all we are asking.
Okay. Here's what we're asking everybody to do. Listen. This is the show, our banner. Service is a different conversation. See, somebody can give you pockets full of money and you can take that money and go on. That's not service. That's disservice. When someone wants to talk to you about Proposition 10 and don't want to talk about the merit of the issue, but want to throw up all kinds of distractions and things that has nothing to do with Proposition 10, that's not service. That's disservice. And what cripples our community, what harms our community, is when people come in and do disservice. When billionaires come in and just for greed come in to lay claim to our communities, that's disservice. But there's one thing that you and I can do, and that's the whole purpose of the Raymond Hall Show. I thank Levada for coming in today. I thank for Pastor for coming in and speaking to us today, because it's their service that stands and speaks for itself. Now it's time for you to get up, stand, and speak for yourself. You get up, make sure that you're registered to vote, and you vote. You see, the billionaires, if they do something to the vote, it shows up. Don't think that somebody, because they can get to a certain office or a certain position, that they're not going to be held accountable. Time has a way of holding each and every one of us accountable. You may think that you got away. You didn't get away. Okay? You did not get away. So vote is what's important here. Have you noticed? I'm a man. It's some things I can't speak on as a man. But have you noticed things that we thought we had addressed, we're still addressing? You mean to tell me we, men and women, Americans, we didn't all sit down and listen to and look at the behavior of someone that was elevated to a seat that has no limit except for their last breath or when they choose to move aside? We all saw it. Now, you either helped by doing nothing, or you cast your vote and said, I'm going to continue to vote.
Absolutely.
We're here with the pastor on Proposition 10. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Pastor, we're going to talk to you for a few moments about what people can do from now until November the 6th to help get the truth out about Proposition 10. We'll be right back. Okay, and we're back with a strong advocate, Reverend Sauls, for Proposition 10. And you had a very good point, Levada, about his work from now to then.
Yes, because, I'm energized. I'm sort of have been a victim of the gentrification and the rent control and how this Costa-Hawkins bill works. So I would like to hear more, and I'm sure the other people out there really need to understand how Prop 10 works in their favor. So are you speaking any place in the communities, or if somebody wants to hear more from you, where could we go?
Yeah, I think for us, I can give a couple of websites for people. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can give a couple of websites for people to check out. The first one is www.voteyesonprop10.org. That provides all the facts for folks, and there is a space there that if you would like somebody, to come to your club meeting, to your neighborhood, or to a house meeting that you want to organize, or your organization, we'll be more than glad to get somebody out there, for you to help with. Also, we have a faith-based website around Prop 10, yes on Prop 10, no on Prop 5, and that website is www.faithvotescalifornia.com. www.faithvotescalifornia, spelled out completely.com. We want to invite all faith leaders, whether you are, of the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith. We have videos there, we have flyers there, and we have other resources for faith-based organizations that will enable them, to speak to, their communities around this. And then, of course, the key thing is to really energize and mobilize and organize folk to first register to vote. Monday is the last day to register to vote.
This coming
We
Monday.
have a couple of more days. This coming Monday.
Okay.
So we have a couple of more days. If you've moved the last couple of since the last election, please check yourself. I was with some folks yesterday in Oakland, and somebody said that they didn't receive their ballot, and when they called the registrar's office, they were dropped from the rolls.
Right.
So we encourage people to check out and make sure that you are on the roll. The ballots have already dropped, and people are voting as we speak.
That's correct.
Around that. So make sure you register to vote and that you show up to vote, of course, in November the 6th. Statistics show us that 77% of likely voters say they're going to show up. That is awesome.
Right.
That's
Right.
almost double the amount that showed up the last election.
Well,
And then the final thing I want to say is, for information in LA County around voting, just go to www.lavotes.net.
That's correct.
You will have all information.
I got
there
a question
about
for
it.
you.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
had a question
What's the
for
question?
him. I heard you mention Prop 5.
Right. I was gonna spring
Since
that
you
on him.
brought that up, we're doing propositions today. What is your take on Prop 5?
He got no on it.
Well, we are advocating no on Prop 5 because if Prop 5 passes, it just creates ongoing loopholes that the real estate industry, I hope people can still remember Prop 13, and the loopholes that it created then, around the property taxes.
Yeah.
So Prop 5, will be detrimental to many of us in general, but in particularly, African Americans and people of color around their property taxes. And so we're advocating no on Prop 5, and in 2020, we will be back with another proposition that we are working on right now to fight the loopholes that this created. And again, these loopholes, that 13 created and 5 wants to, basically set in stone, these loopholes are all to benefit multinational corporations.
Right.
You see, and the real estate industry.
Right.
And not, property owners of single, home,
Right.
properties, et cetera, et cetera. So we are advocating no on Prop 5, yes on Prop 10, and yes on Prop 8. Because of what our dialysis patients are going through
Yes.
during this time.
Yes.
Around that.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to ask you to do, you have my number, and if you would, Pastor, would you text me your number to my phone? I won't ask you to give your personal number out over the airways. That would properly, just overwhelm you
Yeah, we
with
don't.
people calling. But what I'm thinking about is I would love for if his schedule permits for him to come and speak to the LA caucus on some, because we're talking about senior issues, veterans issues, property taxes, those kind of things at some point. So
okay.
maybe
Sure.
we would be able to do that. We're looking forward to talking to you
exciting.
again, and if you're available, we will have you back for a follow-up next week. That'll be the last time we'll have before the election.
For the election.
Yes, so we'll if
Yes.
it's okay with you, we'll have a follow up. We want to thank you so very much for coming
that
to
was
the
great.
show, and
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Okay, have a good day,
Yeah,
and please.
you too, and keep doing the good work you're doing, telling the truth and facilitating the necessary information. For people.
Yes. Now you do have my number, don't you?
I have the number that I called into the station. Is that the number?
No, that's the station number. I called. Charlie called me today. The number that Charlie has is my personal number, or
Okay, I'll get that from her.
you'll get it from her.
Yes.
Don't forget now, because it's important. I want to definitely keep in touch with you.
Absolutely. Be glad to.
Okay.
Thanks so much, and God bless. And folk, let's register. Let's get out to vote, and remember, make your vote count.
Okay.
Very
One more
good.
time. Give us a web address and give us an email address.
Again, the website is www.voteyesonprop10.org.
Okay. Okay.
And then the other one is www.faithvotescalifornia.com, and you can reach me at pastorsaulsk@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Pastor. And
Thanks so much.
God bless you for the work that you're doing and for the work that you're doing to help everybody else. And we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thanks so much. God bless.
Have a good day.
Well, that was just great
Yes.
because, well, it's interesting how 10 connects to 5. And when I heard him mention 5, I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to hear, his perspective. I sort of value what he had to say.
Yeah.
And
So let's do this.
different perspectives.
Let's start at 1. And let's kind of
Well,
breeze
prompts 1,
through.
2, 5, 10 all have to do with our housing issue, not
Okay.
in one way or another.
Okay.
And these are real critical.
Okay,
1,
so
2,
1
5.
gives legislature ability to change. Wait a minute. I'm
No,
on the wrong
1,
one. That's 1. Yeah, that's
a
7.
bond measure to
Yeah,
fund
okay. Got it.
housing assistance programs.
Authorizes $4 billion in general obligation bonds for existing affordable housing programs for low-income residents, veterans, farm workers, manufactured and mobile homes, infill. I don't even know what an infill is.
I saw
And
that somewhere.
transit-oriented housing. Okay, we understand that. Physical impact, increased state costs to repay bonds averaging $170 million annually over the next 35 years. Now, yes on 1, a yes vote on this measure means allows the state to sell $4 billion to general obligation bonds to fund veterans and affordable housing. And a no vote on this measure means that the state could not sell the bond measures on this.
And so when I look at these bond issues, 1 and 2, they do, have physical impact on our budget, state budget.
Right.
But the homelessness is having a major impact on our state budgets, our local communities. We have to address this. The bond issue, they are selling the bonds, right, to get the money to pay the expenses relative to helping to address the housing crisis. Everybody talks about it, like you say. Everybody wants it to happen, but not in my yard.
Yeah.
Well,
Not
if
in
we
their
want
yard.
something to happen,
Okay.
we're going to have to
It's gonna make it happen.
make it happen.
They. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. We only have so much time. We're gonna wait. But
Well,
here's what's important: the tax on cannabis has generated humongous amounts of revenue for both the state and local governments. So when you and I were talking about it, and I was thinking about this 170, this is not. I'm thinking they already have the money that's coming in that's going to be able to pay this
Pay that
bond
bond.
measure.
Pay that.
Okay, so we're not taking a position yes or no on this,
Right, just
but we
explain
do
what
know
happens,
we
yes.
need the housing. Okay, we need
Oh,
the
wow, I can't
housing.
walk out the house or go down the street or under a freeway passage.
Now, why would somebody not want housing? You heard it from the pastor. When somebody says 5 people need a house and I only got one house, now they can charge whatever they want for that one house. But if you got 7 houses and it's only 5 people needing a house, then you can keep that cost in check because you got enough housing to accommodate the people's needs.
people.
Okay, so
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. We're not talking about it, but it's beneficial to the people who build the housing to make sure it's always a need. Okay, they can get more for less. Okay, y'all figure it out. It ain't hard to figure it out. Vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
And two,
Okay.
it is again a bond issue authorizing money to be taken from the existing mental health funds. That's already money already allocated, and use it to help people with mental illness who are homeless.
Okay.
Once again, it's addressing that homeless population.
Okay. So
With money that's already allocated, they just want to take it out of one pocket and put it in another one.
Okay. The state says amends Mental Health Services Act, the Mental Health Services Act, to fund No Place Like Home program, which finances housing for individuals with mental illness. Ratifies existing law establishing the No Place Like Home program. Now, what this is saying is this, is that mental health already got the money.
Yes.
But it's saying specifically through this bill, through this proposition, through 2, you will spend this money on housing
the mentally ill.
So they already got the money.
They got the money.
Okay, pay attention, people. All right, they already got the money. It's not like they got to raise up money, sell bond, anything. They already have the money. It just says out of all of that money that you got for mental health, you will spend this much money on the housing for the mentally
ill.
Okay. All right, now we're going to go to Proposition 3. Authorize bonds to fund projects for water supply. All we got to do is remember that brown water in Compton, huh?
Yeah.
Do we have to go through that? Just remember the brown water. You remember the brown water? Do you want brown water to show up at your door? Okay.
I'm always reminded, I tell people when I left the country, California is like heaven to people. They say, people used to say, if you can't go to heaven, go to California.
Go to California.
Well, it costs to keep our water
That's
clean, keep our beaches clean.
Keep the air clean.
Keep the air clean.
That's right.
And, federal government's trying to cut all these regulations and pollute everything. But we're not gonna have that in California.
It was a certain song. I don't want to get in trouble with the engineer, but it was a certain song that said, "This air I breathe don't belong to me."
Yes.
Yeah, I could sing it, but maybe that gets over into the infringement. Look,
copyright.
We don't have enough time to go through all things, so some things are just common sense. If people, you know what? I checked. I didn't find anybody that got a dirty water bill. When the water was dirty in Compton, nobody got a dirty water bill.
Yeah.
In other words, the bill didn't go down because
they still got a water bill.
Still got a water bill. Okay, and then another show I'm gonna tell you experience I had. It was funny. They did some kind of thing with my electricity, and because it was prorated, my bill was zero.
Well, that was a good thing.
Yeah, but they charged me 8 cent late charge.
Oh, zero?
Yeah, on zero.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, moving right along. Okay, so my point is, if somebody is saying they don't want you to have clean water, look at how much money they're going to put in their pocket.
Just look at Flint, Michigan.
Yeah,
You know.
that's what I'm saying.
So we'll, there were people that voted no, I'm sure, on their water projects, and that's what they got. Yes, yeah, the governor said no.
The governor just said, "Why move from the water to the river? Give them the water out the river."
So we're not having that, California.
And we ain't happy about that, because now you really will make me get on my horse.
Yes.
Talk about some low down dirt. Moving right along, Proposition 4.
Well, that's a bond issue too.
Okay.
So that's
authorizes 1.5 bonds to be repaid for the state's general fund to fund grants for construction, expansion, renovation, and equipment. Qualifying children hospitals. We talked about that.
Yes, and they list the hospitals that are going to benefit, where this money is going. Clearly, there's a need. It's for underprivileged kids, low income, any child that's, I don't know what happened with the CHIPS program that the federal government used to have, but I know that was one of the things that the new administration was cutting out. So it's sort of supplementing what the feds aren't doing anymore, providing services for sick kids.
Yeah, that's what they're doing, because
kids.
we've got this thing going on between the federal government and the state of California administration there. But there's one issue that I've got to talk about. I'm not going to linger on it, but I've got to talk about it. Our children, I've heard it said that seniors are the jewel of the nation, because like diamonds, it takes time to create a diamond.
Right.
And the one thing that we have as seniors, as jewel, that we've acquired it through time. And they say children are the heart of the nation, because everybody loves babies. It's close to your heart. So I notice when they talk about children and babies, everybody want to just empty their pockets and throw it in. But I'm asking, whose babies? Whose children? We've got to look at some realistic issues. We want to say, I'm not saying be heartless, I'm not saying be bigoted or anything else, but whose children? Why do we have a bond measure that addresses care for children, and we don't have a bond measure that addresses care for seniors?
Probably because we don't count as much. We're the past. They're the future.
Seniors ain't crawling across that border.
We're the past.
Now, I know I'm going to get a whole lot of mail behind that statement, but seniors ain't crawling across that border.
Yes, we are.
No, we ain't. Not like them youngsters with them children. Moving right along.
The children are the future. Okay. All right. Moving right
children?
along.
I'm for the children, but who's children?
I am not,
All right.
Who am I to judge?
Okay. All right. So let's jump on to Proposition 8, because we ain't got but a minute left.
Yes.
Proposition 8 is the dialysis. Here's the bottom line. 50% of all of the companies are owned by 50% of all the dialysis companies are owned by two corporations. The price that they pay, that the federal government pay for the service, is fixed, but they are allowed to charge their prices for insurance. This bill will cap their profits at 115, I think 112, 115%. So, yes, on Proposition 8, would support capping how much money that they can gouge where they don't have the limit. We're going to have to come back next week
Yes.
because we still have a few propositions. This is Raymond Hall, and we're here with Levada.
And it's been a great show once
It's
again.
been a great show,
Yeah.
so thank you very much.
All
Look,
right.
we want to thank everybody that's for the service that they give. Each and every one of us are required to give some kind of service. Remember, the strength of the nation is found in the service of her communities, and we all are part of a community somewhere. We want to thank those serving around the world and the armed forces, but we want to thank the teachers and the nurses and the doctors and everyone else. And I especially want to thank my doctor, Dr. LaWanda Grisette, my cardiologist. I just think so much of USC for everything that they've done over these 18 years. We want to thank my mentor who has given so much to this earth, Mr. Johnny Morris, and we want to thank Felicia Morris because this studio is because of Mr. Morris and her vision. So we thank Felicia and Mr. Morris for making it possible for the Raymond Hall Show to be able to broadcast. We'll see you back here next week. We want to thank you for tuning in. Get out, vote.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks for your service.
Bye-bye.